Hey, I'm Mike.
Hey, I'm Ethan.
I watched the first half of Next Stop, Greenwich Village.
I watched the second half of Next Stop, Greenwich Village.
And this
Is the other half.
Shelly Winter's Wonderland. Welcome back to the other half and yet another episode of Shelly Winter's Wonderland.
So one everyone's demanding. We got so many comments about our last episode.
That's
so
right.
We couldn't stop being like, we want more winters. We want the never-ending winter.
Where are my Winters movies? I gotta see my Winters movies. So we heard you and we're coming for you. Here's our Shelly Winters movies. The next one.
I think even though she's dead, I think she's very appreciative of us bringing back her career to the forefront.
So far, we've been very positive about her performances, about the films that she's been in. So far. So I'm sure as of this very second, she's probably very happy about what we've done for her. So now we're going to talk about Next Stop, Greenwich Village, which is a movie from the 70s.
76.
76, but it takes place in 53. So
yeah,
really good example of like nostalgia bait from like the early to mid 70s, right? I'm just like, let's look back on New York in the early 50s. Where, artists moved to Greenwich Village and they were, out of work actors and, they had a hustle and, that kind of stuff. I feel like that was sort of like
that's where the artists lived and all, everyone else who was on the fringes of society, were all like there and the little kooky village that they made it all. Everyone lived in and it was a great time.
Yes, exactly. I feel like that's what this movie is trying to capture. It's interesting, this film. It's very interesting.
It's interesting.
I don't really... Yeah. I will say, to start off, I love this vibe of film. Like, I love a movie that takes place in New York. I love a movie that takes place in, like, a different period of time in which it was filmed. Love watching a bunch of fucking, like, artists being artists and fucking talking pretentious and shit. Love a main character who's a bit weird and artistic. I'm jiving with it. So there's
it's set up for a home run for you.
I would say so. So I'm just very curious to see how this movie continues to play out. That's all I'll say. Also, what a great cast this movie has. Movie opens
a secret banger cast.
Movie opens with like the opening credits, and I learned that Christopher Walken is in the movie. Credited under the name Chris Walken, which was very interesting.
That's how early in the career he was.
We also have obviously the incomparable Shelly Winters is in this movie, of course,
as mom,
as mom, of course. And then we also have Ellen Green. Do you know who Ellen Green is?
Oh, I do. Yes, I do remember her. What the fucking movie was she in recently that I feel like we watched?
Was she in a movie recently?
No, she was in Little Shop of Horrors.
That's what I was going to say. She was in Little Shop of Horrors. Kind of unrecognizable in this movie if you've only known her from Little Shop. Because I saw my half of the movie twice. And the second half I was watching, I'm like, wait a second. I think I know it. But the first time I was like, who is this like unknown actor that I've never seen before?
Yeah.
She's great, great. And later in my half of the movie, the very first appearance on screen of Bill Murray is in this movie as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, do you know that there's actually someone else you haven't mentioned? I don't know if they come in your half at all. You definitely recognize them.
I think I'm listing everybody.
Okay, cool. Then I'm excited to have you one more cameo that you might not expect.
How interesting. But yeah, so the movie takes place in 1953. We are following Larry, who is
Larry Lipinski.
That's right. He is fresh out of college, an acting college, and he wants to move to Greenwich Village in order to pursue his acting career because he knows that's where all the artists are.
Broadway, baby.
Broadway and all these like playwrights and all that kind of stuff. And he wants to leave home. He's going to leave home. The movie opens with him leaving home, and his mom is played by Shelly Winters.
And let me tell you one thing about Shelly Winters in this movie.
What is it?
She makes this movie watchable. That's what I gotta say.
Wow.
I must come out early and say, I don't give a flying rat's ass about 90% of these characters. But let me tell you, Shelly Winters makes it interesting. She's
Yeah.
a fun character. She's just a Jewish mom who just loves her son, but is just such an interesting. Like she loves her son, but is such a mean mom at the same time.
She's hysterical.
Yes,
She's like,
and also and funny.
Yes, that's true too. I do love her in this role. It's interesting because what a jump this is, right? The last movie we watched was in 53. This movie is in 71. I take full credit. I literally was just like, okay, I'm just throwing movies in this order. Did not mean to pick two movies that are so diametrically opposed as far as like when they were released.
Absolutely.
I honestly didn't recognize her too. Like it's been a while since I've seen Auntie Roo and The Silent Adventure. And so I was just coming hot off of A Place in the Sun. And so I watch her in this one and I'm like, who is this? Like, when is Shelly Winters going to show up? And then I was like, oh shit, she's the mom.
You didn't recognize her in most of this. I mean, she just kind of blends. She's such a good actress.
She truly does. And what I love about her in this role, and I agree with you, because like this could have easily just been like hysterical, like nagging mom, which it is.
Absolutely.
That's essentially what it is on the page. But she gives this character so much like love and care and like empathy that it doesn't deserve. Like the movie literally opens with Larry leaving his house and his mom starts first like berating him and like going like, oh, you're gonna leave me, you're gonna go to that ugly terrible part of town, you know, everyone's gonna steal your money and all your clothes. And then
where's she living now? They're living in like what part of New York are they living right now?
I don't know if it's told in our half. I think maybe they live in like, I don't know. I'm literally.
It's a Jewish community, I know, because I remember going like there's moments outside and you see a lot of people playing older music and things like that.
Yeah, I would be making a guess as to where they would be living, but
fair enough.
But I do know that it seems like it's just a train right away, so it's not that far. But then as he's about to leave, she starts just hysterically crying and she starts like slamming her hands on the table and she's like just sobbing, and it's like, oh man, like I don't know, like it's not 100% like equal, but like I remember leaving home when I was a kid when I was like 20 21 and my mom also was like very like emotional about it. Obviously like your kid is like leaving you and all that stuff. And it's not 100%. It's not like she wasn't hysterical like this, but like there was this like true like motherly feeling that Shelly Winters was bringing to this moment that I don't know if it truly deserved, but I'm happy to see it. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
It's great. And then he's like, you know, you're trying to make me feel guilty. I'm not going to feel guilty. And then he closes the door. And then as he's leaving, by the way, the dad's there. Dad says nothing. The dad is just this sort of like spineless, quiet dude. And the minute he leaves, she's still like crying because she's clearly like all like welled up and like emotional. But then she just like pulls out a magazine and just starts reading it like to try to calm herself down. I don't know. It's just like a really good way of opening the movie. Like what a great like way to establish not just Larry and his family, but also sort of explain, because like I will also say Larry's not like a great guy. Like
no, he's not. He sucks.
He sucks. But it's sort of, this is a good example of like, well, why does he suck? Like why, you know, like why does he feel like he has to like lie, or why does he feel like he has to like act a specific way? Why does he feel like he has to act? It's because he lives in this house where like his mom is like overly critical and like trying to like keep him from his potential essentially.
Sure, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So
still sucks.
He's not great.
I hate him.
He's not great.
I don't like him.
In this moment, I'm like, I kind of relate to him. Sure. You know?
Sure.
So it's really cool. I just wrote down, it's just really cool to see old New York dressed up as like older New York. Cause it's like movies shot in the 70s. So it's already old for us. But then they have like all these old like billboards. Everyone's wearing like old clothing. You see old cars.
That stuff's more around. So it feels more real.
I think so. It was just like a nice little bit. And then he gets on the train to arrive where he's going to be living in Greenwich Village. And he gets on the train and he pulls out a fucking beret and he puts it on his head. And I'm like, oh, he's such a fucking hipster, man. Oh, it's so good.
Yep. He's like, finally, I can blend into the neighborhood.
Yeah. And then he arrives at his apartment and he says, oh boy, am I guilty, he says to himself. And this is the beginning of a long, long pattern of him talking to himself. And I don't know if he does that in your half as well, but there's a lot of him just talking to himself, acting to himself, doing impressions of people. And this is the beginning of it.
He does that, but does he also have like a mind palace he goes into with like where people are acting in front of him?
No.
Interesting.
He does in your half, though. He does have one scene, in which I'll get to, where he's talking to like multiple people that he's impersonating, but it's not like a mind palace or anything like that. It's not Sherlock just yet. So he immediately were jumped into him and his girlfriend. They're in bed and they clearly just fucked. And they are discussing contraception, and she's like, she's thinking about maybe getting a diaphragm, and she's thinking
play later.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, I'm a big strong man. I'm a big strong manly man who fucked you real good, right? And she's like, you're fine. You're just fine, you know.
Damn.
And then they just out of the blue just start bringing up suicide. He's just like, what? Go ahead.
These artist people, man.
I know.
These artist people, man. You just want to get your nut off, and then they're going to start talking about suicide.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're not on the same wavelength, it's just watching this two go off. It's just like, come on, guys.
Chill out.
Why don't you just look at your phone or something like a normal person.
Right? Exactly. Well, yeah, he's like, I think about suicide like twice a day. And then she's like, yeah, you do that because you think it makes you interesting. All you artists like to do that. So it's like, I don't know. It's really like jazzy dialogue, you know. I'm like, oh yeah, this is super fun. This is super cute, you know. They're like bouncing off each other. I love their whole like dynamic, you know. It's like he's like, oh, I'm a good sex guy, and she's like, no, you're not. You're just fine, you know, and whatever. It's
Mike's favorite genre.
My favorite genre of writing. And so he's like, she's like, put your pants on, you know. We need to go out. So then they go to a bar where a mustachioed Bill Murray is there wearing a sombrero, and they just refer to him as the crazy guy. And
you know what? Some things never change. Doesn't matter what year it is, 1976 or
1950
2023
or 2023.
He's still a crazy guy.
You're still a crazy guy. And they're like, why is that guy wearing a sombrero? Why is he doing that? And they're like, well, you know, he was so obsessed. And this is one of the many things this movie does where it's like, it's almost like, forgive me, it's almost like a Christmas Story where it's like you just keep like bopping into little like anecdotal like moments, and they don't really like, they sort of like culminate in a story, but they don't necessarily like, you know, like drive anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so in this,
you're just kind of hanging out.
You're just sort of hanging out. And so in this moment, it's he's like, oh yeah, you know, Bill Murray over there, he really wanted to go to Mexico. He saved up all his money. He wanted to go to Mexico so bad. And then he finally got enough money, and he got all this money, and then he bought a plane ticket, and he flew out there, and then he ate a taco, and then he got the shit so bad he flew back. And it's like, that's supposed to be funny, is like, you know, like Mexican food gives you the shits.
Mexican food, dude. It gives you shits. It's so funny. It's definitely not aged at all. What's also interesting is this movie's obsessed with people going to Mexico.
Mm-hmm. I think for this reason.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I just, maybe it was like more of a destination then, but I don't know people go from like New York to Mexico that often. I feel like
it is
people
far.
in California go there because it's pretty close.
That's the thing, I think it's a destination for people like further up because they're further away from the border.
I guess it's true. It is much warmer. Yeah.
For them, it'd be like, oh yeah, you want to take like a weekend trip to Canada? Like that's not a big deal for them.
I guess that's true.
You know, Mexico is like much further. Also, it's like warm too. You know, like in New York,
the warmth
it's
is
cold.
a big deal, right?
Yeah. So anyway, then we meet Barney. Do you know Barney? He's this guy that's really big with a big bushy beard and a hat.
Oh yes, I've seen him. He barely is in my house.
Okay, he shows up.
He's a painter.
He's a painter, and he shows up and he walks right up to. I think her name is Sarah, his girlfriend, right?
Sure. I don't remember.
I'm gonna say it's Sarah. Pretty sure it's Sarah. He goes up to Sarah and he's like, "Hey, I'm Barney. If you need a good abortion doctor, I know one." And she's like, I'm
Could
good.
have had that for the last movie.
Yeah, Ethan. Yeah, they did. Yes, they did. Yeah, keep that in mind.
Okay.
So, and then she's like, no, I'm good. I don't need one. I'll call you up if I ever do, though. And he's like, all right, goodbye. And then I'm like, all right, that's Barney. He just like goes up to people and introduces himself and says that he knows abortion doctors.
Interesting.
And then we run into
this is what Republicans fear. Is
yeah, I know.
Going to be doing with this, just coming up giving you abortion doctors.
This was an interesting sort of, because obviously, you know, I mean, abortion's always been a hot button issue for people in America, for women in America. But it is interesting to go like, okay, this is what people in the 70s were represent. Well, okay, this is what one guy in the 70s was representing abortion in the 50s, basically, you know. And so it's like clearly this is supposed to be like a metropolis of like, you know, of people of learned, you know, people.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, abortion is still like a thing that we like. They're saying it openly in this bar, but clearly it's something that's like on their mind of like, you know, we want to make sure, you know, we find someone who's safe.
Well, I mean, look about the last movie where literally it was someone trying to find an abortion doctor and like
Exactly.
such a hassle trying to find one.
Which is actually no, you know,
which is set in the 50s.
I was gonna say, yeah, that movie took place in the same year it was released, which is 51. This takes place in 53.
Yeah.
Holy shit! You know what?
Related, dude.
You
made a great job.
I totally did that on purpose. All right.
Yeah, definitely. Especially that part when I was like, "Hey, what year did this come out?" And you're like, "Oh, I don't know." But I looked it up. I knew you did this on purpose as soon as you said that.
Of course. So we're now introduced to Bernstein. You know Bernstein?
Bernstein, yeah.
Bernstein, this amazing black gay guy. Love this fucking guy.
He's fun.
He's so fun. He says that his mom is a cleaning woman. She cleaned for like a Jewish family, which is why his name is Bernstein. And that his father is an African prince. And we meet him. And he is in love with this like Norwegian guy who can't speak English. And he's like, I love him so much, but I can't tell him. How do you say English in Norwegian? And they're like, I don't know. And it's just like a bunch of goofy poets.
It's just these young kids just being goofy.
And I'm like, all right, I'm liking this movie so far. We'll see how this will, you know, like I'm not gonna make any opinions just yet. And then all of a sudden, this fucking guy shows up. And I don't think he's in near half the movie. He's this old man, and he's just got this big bushy beard, and he has this little like newsboy hat that goes over his eyes, and he's got big old glasses.
He's not this guy with super sunken eyes, right?
No.
Okay.
The guy with sunken eyes, I believe, is going to be Christopher Walken.
No. There's another guy with like who's like long hair, and I was like,
no,
it's kind of like, okay, he's at a party. I don't know if he ever comes into play beforehand.
No. This is an old man with a big bushy beard and a hat, and he's walking around. He's like, "Give me 25 cents, and I'll write you a poem." And they're like, "Oh, we don't have 25 cents." And he's like, "Just give me 25 cents, and I'll give you a poem." And I'm like, I fucking love this guy. This man, I don't know where he is. I don't know what he does. I'm loving this movie just because he's in this movie. And then clearly he doesn't show up later in your movie. But I'm fucking in.
Does that guy even show up in any other scenes in your movie?
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
I was just like,
I love this one character.
This one guy. I love him.
No time with.
I love this fucking guy. Love this dude.
We're stuck with fucking Larry.
So yes. So then, they're on a train. Larry and the girlfriend. And they're taking a train back to her place, and he's talking to her, and he's clearly like boring her because he won't fucking shut up about being an actor and all that kind of bullshit. And like, you know, he's just so self-centered. And then they arrive back at her place, and somehow all this talk of being an actor and going to Mexico really fucking turned her on. So
yeah, dude.
She's like, all right, let's have sex. But he's like, I don't have a condom on me. And she's like, that's fine. Let's just do it anyway. And then he's like, oh, don't worry, I'll pull out. And so then
yeah, that works.
It's got to
works every time. Yeah,
every time it works. So then after having sex, he runs home. he's like so excited he just did sex with her, and so he's like quoting Shakespeare to himself, like he's quoting I believe he's quoting God, not Macbeth. Oh God, it's the soliloquy from
you could say anything and I would be like, yeah, sure.
Anyway,
don't worry
quoting...
though. If you fuck this up in front of Larry though, he'll be an asshole about it.
Oh, so. He absolutely would. No, he's quoting Shakespeare. Oh man, I really want to Google it so I don't sound like
it's not Macbeth?
It's not Macbeth.
Okay. I mentioned that a lot in this, so.
Oh God, what is it? It's not Shakespeare. It's the other one.
Let's see. Taming of the Shrew.
No, Hamlet. It's Hamlet.
Hamlet. Okay.
He's quoting Hamlet. He's quoting the soliloquy from Hamlet, the famous soliloquy.
Oh yeah, sorry. Hamlet was what.
This is what I fucking thought. That's what I fucking thought. Anyway, so he's running home. He's quoting Hamlet, screaming into the night, and then he sees a poster for a Brando movie. Which is, I believe, a movie we saw for the podcast. It was the Brando movie we saw. The Stella, that one, you know.
Oh my God,
Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah. Named Desire.
He sees
I was thinking about On the Waterfront,
no,
which we did not see with this podcast.
We did not see that one. No. So he sees Brando, and he starts doing a Brando impersonation to himself, And then he like walks into like where the train is, and then he sees like a bottle on the ground, like an empty a liquor bottle. He picks it up and he acts like it's an Academy Award, and he's like doing his like award acceptance speech to nobody. And then he impersonates his mom, who's like proud of him for getting the award. And then all of a sudden a cop shows up. The cop's like, dude, shut up. You're bothering everybody. You're so loud.
I hate that this movie makes me relate to cops. I hate it.
Yeah, you're a cop now. You're a cop now,
Oh,
Ethan.
man.
Deal with it.
Oops.
And he
Oops,
says,
all cops.
he says, you're being loud. You're annoying everyone in the neighborhood, and your impressions are really bad. And
You know what? Maybe the cops were good in the 50s. I don't know.
maybe they changed. Something changed. You know.
Something changed. You know.
So then he walks into a health food vitamin shop. Because there's a job opening, and he asks about the job and he gets it. And he's working behind the counter with a juicer. It's pretty easy, honestly. He says he has some experience, so yeah, just walk in and get it up. And the guy,
I make food. I blend smoothies at home.
yeah, no, well, that's the thing. Actually,
Like,
that's
what
the thing.
experience?
He has experience working behind the counter. He's experienced like working retail, but he's never seen a juicer before. He does not know how to use it. So he has to learn how to use a juicer.
I feel like it's pretty straightforward.
Clearly it was, because he picked it up pretty quick. Also, the guy running the store makes fun of people who eat poison, in quotes. He's like, "You eat poison. I'm not gonna give you something to fix poison."
What does he mean by poison?
Like just bad food for you, basically.
I went to McDonald's or whatever.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Poison. Okay.
All
sure.
right. So up until now, I'm like, oh, this movie's pretty fun. You know, there's some sad moments. You know, there's some weird moments. But up until now, this movie's a fucking blast. You know, I'm having a grand old
you're
time.
loving it. You're having a great time at the juice bar. You got your weird old man
Got
running
the
around.
weird
asking
guy.
poems.
Larry's a bit of a weirdo, but you know, who amongst us wasn't weird when they were like in their early 20s, you know?
Yeah, it's true.
And then Larry and Sarah are arriving back at their apartment. And then we meet Connie and Bernstein and Robert, who's played by Christopher Walken. And they all run out of their apartment, and they're like running across the street. And Larry's like, "What's going on, guys?" And they're like, "Anita Cunningham's going to commit suicide." And they're saying it in a very like excited way. And they're like,
"Oh yeah."
And they're like, "How do you know she's going to commit suicide?" And they're like, "She just called me 30 minutes ago." And they're like, "Why have you waited 30 minutes to check in on Anita Cunningham? She's your friend." And they're like, "She does this all the time. She calls and says she's going to commit suicide. And then she calls back 30 minutes later and says that she's not going to do it. But she hasn't called back, so we're going to go check on her." But they're like jumping around. They run into Barney and they're tell Barney what's going on. Barney's like, "I got to see this." So they're running upstairs and they're laughing and they're joking about it. They go to watch her, and because they don't believe her. And then they arrive.
Sounds like it.
And they arrive, and Anita Cunningham has cut her wrists open and is sobbing hysterically, repeating that she doesn't want to live. And it's like fucking cold water just fucking like shot all over the goddamn place. And it's like,
damn.
Whoa, what the fuck is this movie now?
And how did everyone react?
Everyone immediately, everyone is now seemingly quite concerned, except for Robert, Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken in this movie is a fucking evil person. Like,
yeah, he's a crazy psychopath.
He's off. He's like fucking American Psycho shit. Like, he's like, because Anita's like, I can never, like, she's like, I can't find anyone who loves me. And then he's like, well, yeah, with this kind of apartment. And it's like, fucking shut up, dude. Like, she's fucking like pouring her heart out to you. She just fucking like
literally
killed
bleeding
herself.
out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, fuck Robert. I fucking hate Robert. And honestly, it makes everyone all the worse that they continue to hang out with this fucking guy.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
This was weird. I also like, I put it on. I was watching with my wife. And like this scene happened, and my wife was just like, "What in the fuck?" Like she's like, "Whoa, this fucking turned real dark real quick." And then the scene cuts to them all together in a cafe. Anita's there, sitting there quiet, like sort of like rubbing her arms, rubbing her wrists, and Robert, the uncaring idiot, is trying to appear. It's like Robert's so fucking awful. Like I really can't express. And Christopher Walken does such a good job with this guy because I've met people like this where it's like. He doesn't know anything, so he lies about everything. And And then when he's called out, he fucking doubles down on what he's saying. And then when people are like in true serious like trouble or harm, he fucking like minimizes it or like jokes about it. And it's like
that's all bad on top of each other, right? Like the first one, it's like, okay, you're just an idiot. But the second one, it's like, dude, you're not even helping.
You're not helping anybody. It's like, it's the fucking he's like the worst person. And Christopher Walken does such a good job with this guy. Like, as we know, like, honestly, if I'd only seen him in this movie, if this was the first time I'd ever seen Christopher Walken, I'd be like, damn, this guy they got to play Robert is like a fucking like evil person. But like knowing that, like, you know, he's been in all these other movies and we know,
yeah, man, he stuck a watch up his ass for like 14 years.
Exactly. So I don't know, man. It's just like this Robert guy. The minute he walks in this movie, the movie completely turns into what I feel is a totally different film. So they're just like making conversation, and then Anita's like, look, do you think I want attention? Because I don't. Like, she's like, I hate my life and nothing feels good ever. And then they're like, hey, Anita, want to go see a movie? There's a new Charlie Chaplin movie out. And she's like, I love Charlie Chaplin. And then they all walk out of the bar like they're Charlie Chaplin with their feet like stuck out to the side.
So goofy.
And then the scene ends. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, the thing is like, I feel like those movies with like random bullshit scenes of just like hanging out and goofiness, they can work.
Oh, 100%.
They're fun.
Yeah.
But when you throw in like vibe killers,
yeah,
it's like, what are we doing here? Are we trying to say something with this movie? Like, I don't know.
Like,
I don't know what this movie's like goal is.
What's
really
doing? It clearly feels like a slice of life type of film, which is totally fair. But like, I really feel like the swings are so fucking hard in both directions. It's really hard to feel like you're. It doesn't feel like.
The tone's off. The tone is all over the place.
It is. And it's like, this isn't a great comparison, but like, we just recently saw The Holdovers, which is an excellent film if people haven't seen it. It's with Paul Giamatti. And that movie similarly has moments of like warmth and comfort and joy and like humor. And then there's moments of like genuine, like serious, like sadness, you know, and like tragedy. But like, those moments aren't like that bad, and they're dealt with in a way that it doesn't feel like the movie's like I don't know. Like, it's just this.
It's less. It's. I feel like that movie also has a tone of despair, while this, in some ways, it sprinkles in a tone of hopelessness.
And
I think hopelessness is such a more dire feeling to sprinkle into your movie.
Yeah.
You know, someone literally being there and being depressed, and like other people like, and knowing that they don't have the support system to help them out. It's like,
definitely.
Oh, okay.
And it's and so that scene happens. It ends with them goofily walking out the bar as Charlie Chaplin, and then it just rolls into another scene with Larry and his parents. And it's so Larry is in his apartment. He's preparing his apartment for his parents arriving and visiting him. And he's impersonating how he thinks his mom will react to the apartment, like criticizing his furniture, criticizing the paintings. And then his parents do arrive, and his mother reacts exactly the way he expected, like down to the letter, down to the words. Like, she's doing exactly the thing he expected, which one is like a cute sort of thing of like, oh, this is, you know, like he's lived with his parents for so long, he understands how his mom is going to react to certain things. It's very funny. But like, this feels like a scene out of like, this feels like like an episode of like Everybody Loves Raymond, and we just like left a moment of like true, genuine human sadness, and it's like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, at this point, this is no longer like, I'm not like laughing along with any of this. This is so hard to like fall into the trap again. You know what I mean?
I get you.
So the dad is quiet. He's sweet but caring. And the mom, Shelly Winters, is like, I brought you a chicken. And she's like, he's like, I don't have a way to cook the chicken. How am I supposed to cook the chicken? She's like, I got you a pot. You're going to make the chicken in a pot. And it's like, it's so funny, you know, but it's like, he's yelling at her and she's yelling back at him. It's like, it's clear this is like the only way they can communicate with each other. It's like just yelling at the top of their lungs.
Just kind of like angry yelling at each other and just, you know, being frustrated. It's like, they have an interesting dynamic. And I love that she walks the line of this movie better than the movie does.
Oh, 100%.
Like a sadness within her, a desperation within her, while also being able to crack jokes and be kind of mean and like be also very charismatic at the same time and kind of go with the flow, while also at some points not. And I feel like she encapsulates it better than this movie does. It's more natural, even though she does have these spurts of aggression or anger.
Yeah.
Even if it's very dramatic, it feels like it's there and it's over in an instant, which feels more human than the way this movie portrays something of like an event of someone trying to kill themselves, you know?
Very, very well put. Like genuinely well put, Ethan. I totally agree. I feel like she is the absolute heart, which is weird to say because she's barely in the movie, but she is like the heart of the film, and she does a very good job of walking that tonal tightrope that I feel like not even like just the other actors, but the rest of the movie, as you said, it is failing to do, I feel. So after this big argument about the chicken, they're sitting around quietly, and the mom is just listening to opera like on the recording, and she's like, oh, listen to this one moment. It's so beautiful. And it's like the moment happens and she's like crying. And then as the moment ends, she's like so overcome with emotion. And then they're like, well, guess we better get out of here. And so they start packing up like after that, like no actual catching up or anything like that. And they're about to leave. And then she's like, you better call me. And he's like, I'll call you. And she's like, when are you going to call me? And he's like, I'll call you tomorrow. And she's like, when are you going to call me tomorrow? And he's like, I don't know when I'm going to call you tomorrow. And it's just like this constant like back and forth yelling at each other. And it's like they're just never happy. But in this like in this we've said it before, in this conflict is where like their familial love exists, you know, in a weird way. Anyway, so that scene ends and we're in an acting class and we see Larry performing in the acting class, and the teacher's genuinely like very thoughtful and very helpful, sort of giving him tips on how to best perform. And this random student is like, Larry, you're an asshole. You're too jokey. Like, you can't truly be a good actor if you're not willing to be like human, if you're not willing to fully immerse yourself in this character. The entire scene, you're joking, you're laughing, you're being too in your head about it. You need to be more like emotional, more human. And the teacher says the worst kind of joking is joking that keeps life out. You know, joking, being sardonic, being sarcastic. That's the worst kind of joking because it's not letting life in. And I'm like, oh, this is the thesis of the movie.
Yeah, pretty much. It seems like it.
Yeah,
kind of. I don't know if it really executes on it.
We thought well, that was the thing. Is I think we thought the movie's trying to be a comedy because there's funny moments in the movie, but really the movie's a drama.
Yeah, the movie's trying to be really fucking sad.
Really fucking sad movie.
But also the thing is, it does that thing where it comments on it, but then does it at the same time.
Yeah. It's like lampshading, but poorly. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't. Yeah. I feel like when something comments on it, it's like doesn't give you an excuse to do it yourself. You know.
I totally agree. But don't worry, the movie's a bunch of laughter up until now because then his girlfriend Sarah shows up and says that she's pregnant.
Aw, hilarious.
And then he's like, "Well, let's get married." And she's like, "No, I want to have an abortion." And then he's like an abortion.
Gotta find a good doctor.
Yeah, exactly, Ethan. And then
but luckily, there's already someone who established it earlier that it's not really going to be an issue.
Well, actually, that's the thing is she's like, "Well, you have this friend Barney. Let's like reach out to Barney." And he's like, no, Barney's lying to you. Like, no, you're gonna see a butcher. If you go to Barney's, he's just trying to impress you. Which is like, one, how does he know that? But two, it's like, damn,
you
Barney.
fucking got Yelp reviews on these guys?
Yeah,
like,
I know, right?
Like how do you know?
Heard through the grapevine.
Why does he hate Barney so much? Did he just meet Barney?
Yeah, exactly. I know, but he knows Barney is not a good guy. And then he starts criticizing her because she's like, I should have got a diaphragm like a year ago. And he's like, a year ago, I thought I was your first. And she's like, no, you weren't my first. Like, I definitely had sex before you. And he's like, well, how many people did you have sex with before me? And I'm like, dude,
oh this doesn't matter now.
This is the worst fucking time to be having this conversation. And then finally she puts her foot down. She's like, I am not going to get married to you. I'm going to have an abortion. And that's that. And then he's like, all right, I'll see what I can do. I'm see if I can find someone that we can, if anybody has any connections. And the only person
I wonder where he even goes for that. I wonder where he like what was he thinking? Like this is like I don't know how people buy drugs, but I don't know how people get abortions. I don't know how people do those. I mean back then. Yeah. I don't know how you like get those things done, you know.
Yeah.
It's always a mystery to me, and I'm not cool. And I don't think this guy's very cool either, so I don't know where he knows where to go.
Well, mystery is solved because he goes to his good friend Robert.
Okay. Yeah, that guy. Definitely not a butcher.
Robert knows a guy. Or Robert knows, Robert knows a doctor. And they're like, oh, yeah, is he good? And he's like, she's good. And they're like, a woman doctor? Like, they're shocked by the idea. A woman abortion doctor. But this guy's fucked up. Already, I didn't like Robert. And then Robert's like, yeah, I had my first abortion when I was 17.
What?
I brought the woman to a Haitian woman. And he does like a Haitian accent, and he starts changing his languages to try to impress them. And he's like, it's fucking weird. This fucking scene was so fucking weird. And then they're like, all right, well, let's see if we can find any other people that are like that know abortion doctors. And so they're about to leave the bar, and then they run into Anita, the woman who just tried to commit suicide a couple days ago. Mm-hmm. She's holding a cat. And they're like walking through the bar, and they like run into each other. And I'm about to make a note, by the way, Ethan. So
thank you.
I'm leaving a little note in my thing. I just left a little cue marker. Okay. So they walk by each other, and Anita says, "What's happening?" And Sarah says, "I'm shopping for an abortion." And Anita says, "Ooh, lucky girl." And it's like, because Anita can't find like a man in her life, she's very jealous that Sarah not only has a man, but now has a baby that she wants to get rid of. And it's like, to me is like the encompassment of the tone of the film. It's like, it's clearly a joke, but it's like, it's sad. It's really fucking sad. So
very sad at the same time.
Yeah. So it seems like Robert's abortion doctor was quite legit. So Robert and Larry are waiting in the abortion doctor's waiting room next to the front desk woman, as well as like the rest of the patients. And for some reason, Robert fucking really loves the idea about like offending and upsetting everyone who's already probably upset because they're fucking here to get like an abortion,
Yeah, absolutely.
Or some of them are, I guess. So
yeah,
Robert tells the story about how he left home when he was 9.5 because he had an affair with his 19-year-old sister, who was very hot, according to Robert. His own sister was very hot.
Oh, very important.
And then he says, but then, she left home, and then she became a nun, and then she moved to Paris, and now she's in a sex cult. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, this isn't fun. Like, this, what is this? Like, it's like, this kind of also reminds me of St. Elmo's Fire, where it's like,
yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It's not as overtly bad.
No, but it's like,
it is that same vibe.
I know people like this. I know people that want to appear so interesting that they just lie about themselves, and those lies end up making them look like way worse,
Yep.
Oh God, dude. It's just it was just so hard to watch. And then Sarah finally comes out of the doctor's office. And so she says that the doctor gave her something to induce bleeding. And so Sarah needs to like jump up and down. She needs to like smoke cigarettes. She needs to do as much stuff as possible to get herself to bleed, because then once she bleeds, then she can be brought into the doctor's office. And then they will like take care of they'll abort the fetus, because clearly it's killing her basically.
Yeah.
And that's how the abortion is going to work. And as she leaves the doctor's office, all three of them jump up and down to sort of like give her support to cause the abortion. I don't know why they did this. 'Cause it's funny. Scene cuts. Sarah's in the hospital. The doctor says that one day she hopes to deliver Sarah's real baby in the future. And Sarah looks like she's in so much pain, understandably. She's very sad. She's in a lot of pain. She's very quiet. And then Larry comes in. Because of course the protagonist is Larry, so we have to see all of this through Larry's eyes.
Oh yeah.
And Sarah calls her mom because her mom doesn't know what's going on. So Sarah's like, "Hey, I'm at what's her name? Carla? Is that her name? Connie. I'm at Connie's home. I'm staying the night.
Yeah.
I'm staying the night with Connie." So she's straight up lying to her mom while she's laying in a hospital bed after getting an abortion, and she still has like the strength to like talk to her mom and lie to her about where she is and what happened and all that stuff. And it's like, geez, Sarah, like, God, this is so tragic and so horrifying and so sad. And, like the actors portraying Sarah as like doing a really good job of like bringing all that without, I don't know. It's a really great moment of like sadness and whatever. And then she hangs up, and then Larry does like a weird Brando impersonation and starts like embracing her and like crawling all over her. And then one of the nurses is like, sir, I think she needs to rest. Like,
yeah,
hands off.
He's like, well, it's just a minor thing, jumping up and down, having to bleed. It's not a minor, it's like,
no,
her body just went through like a horrible thing that she had to go through.
Her body's 50s
recovering.
Abortion, like an abortion in the 50s. Probably not great.
No, probably not.
So then that scene just hard cuts. We are now at a rent party. This actually looked like a lot of fun. It's a party that takes place where you, in order to pay rent, you throw a party in your apartment, and then people, when they enter the party, have to pay you $1 entry, and then when you get enough money, you are able to pay rent, basically. And it's like, oh, that's a cool idea. So everyone shows up. Anita's there. Anita says that she's marrying a sailor. They apparently spent all week together. And then he's going off. He's gonna leave for a month and then come back, and then they're gonna get married. And I'm like, this feels real like I have a boyfriend who lives in Canada situation,
Oh, jeez, yeah, it does for sure.
Yeah. And then the abortion doctor, I guess, is there. Her name is Marcia. She's at the party. And
that's fun.
That's the end of my half of the movie.
Okay, I don't know what the fuck is going on. When I started this movie, I had no idea. I just see a bunch of people partying it up in an apartment. Like you said, they have to pay money to get in.
I will say one thing. I watched a little bit over my half, and so I saw the thing that you first saw, and I'm like, oh, what an awful introduction to this movie.
Yeah. So, who was that lady?
She's nobody.
Some blonde lady. She's okay. So
she's not blonde.
No one? I thought she was. I wrote blonde.
I don't think she's blonde, but she's like a Southern woman, right?
She's a Southern woman.
Yeah, she's not a character.
Anyway, Southern lady, she's just like, where I come from, black men we're taught that black men are considered dangerous. We were taught they wanted your body. And since I moved here, I was proved correct. They do want my body, and I love black men. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? What is this movie I'm watching? All right, maybe it was just a...
What an awful introduction. Like, what a truly terrible, like, opening. Like,
what are we doing here? Especially weird considering there's like literally one black person in this movie, from what I could tell.
Yeah,
it's the main cast anyway.
Yeah, one speaking black character is Bernstein, and he's like a side character. He's barely in the movie, sadly. Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of which, I'm introduced to him. He's just talking about how he's in love. He's having a great time. Then they're all like, "Let's play Subway," and I think Connie's like, "There's too many people."
What's
and they
Subway?
Say, Next
I wonder.
Stop, Greenwich Village, and basically it is.
That's
like
the name of the movie.
I know, it's the name of the movie. They finally said it.
Wow.
It's basically, let me just describe to you the most artsy fartsy way. It's just a move. It's just where everyone pretends and basically does improv in the middle of a party where they all pretend they're on a subway.
And
that's
they just pretty lame.
All just role play it. That's about it.
Pretty lame.
Yep. They pretend like the train is stalled. Someone comments how Greenwich Village is full of gay people. They pretend it's a subway for honestly a very long time. And then Christopher Walken's like, I'm fucking bored of this. I don't want to do this anymore. Let's play a new game. And he picks like somehow an even lamer game than Subway. He says, let's point at people and tell the truth about them.
Oh God, dude.
It's like so annoying.
It's like megalomaniacal fucking shit. Like going to a party and going like, let's criticize everyone.
So he points his finger at what's that one? The painter guy's face. The guy
Barney.
you were talking about earlier. Barney?
Yeah.
They points his finger at him and says, I see guy who's been painting the same canvas for 3 years and never changes. He's been chasing the work of Pablo Picasso forever. And he's just like, man, fuck you. And then, though, of course, that one lady speaks up and she just goes, I love black guys. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Who are these people? Who are these people?
This is hell for Ethan. He's like fucking like this is truly hell. You've walked into a party where you know nobody and everyone's acting like a crazy person.
Everyone's acting like the most annoying person. Like none of them are being inclusive. None of them are getting me a drink. None of them are like introducing themselves. I just have to go on with these people and they're saying things that are extremely questionable. Okay?
Ethan would never go to this kind of party.
No. Also, there's a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
Really crammed full. Anyway. So then I see that Larry sees Christopher Walken and says, I'm pointing at you. And you are a massive logo and you're a wasteland of brains is what I see. And I'm like, damn, he really got him. Another person also digs into him, but I didn't write down what he said. And then Larry turns to, I think, is Sarah, and says, I want to eat this lady up. I want to eat her up. That's my truth. And he starts making out with her. And then two old people appear. And it's Larry's mom and dad. They appear in the middle of this while he's like talking about how he wants to like
at the
do
rent
nasty
party
things with this lady. Huh?
At the rent party.
Yeah, but they're just in the area. They figured they would stop by. It's his place.
Oh, wow.
It's Larry's place. Larry throws a real rager, you know.
Clearly. Wow.
He really knows how to network. I will give him one thing. He knows how to make friends.
Did you recognize Shelly Winters?
I did not initially. No, definitely not.
Yeah, me neither.
I had to confirm.
Yeah.
But then as soon as she started talking and being the most interesting person in the movie, I knew it was her. Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah, definitely.
And then some people are like, "Hey, it's $1 a head. You got to pay." And they're like, "It's my parents." And it's great because Bernstein is like, "Oh, new people," and grabs his mom and starts dancing with her. And she's like, Are you Jewish? He's like, "Nope, I'm just gay." And then just starts dancing like, "Nah, these guys are all right.
I love him.
This is a fun party."
Love him.
So then there's a weird thing where he's in what I think is acting class. It cuts to him in acting class watching him dance or Bernstein dance with his mom, and he's seeing how she is actually the star of the show.
The mom?
The mom is the star of the show. She's like, "Look, I'm actually going to take over this. I'm going to do a feature of me singing." And she starting to sing. She's like, "Listen, you thought you were the only one interested in seeing double features, but they were also for me. I had dreams of being an actor as well. I'm not your usual Jewish mother." And then she starts dancing, and like her legs are like dress goes up a little bit, so you see your pantaloons, and it's like,
ooh.
These are all wild thoughts that Larry's having in his mind. It cuts back to the party, and it's just like, oh, he hates his mom because she literally just took the center of attention from the party, from his own party to, dance. His mom just dancing with Bernstein, even though she's just fun and charismatic.
She's just having a good time, yeah.
So then the party's over, and Larry and Sarah are introduced to, or Larry introduces Sarah to his mom and is like, well, she asks like, "Are you getting married?" And he's like, "No." And she's like, "You guys never get married. If it was up to you, my son would never let me meet you. He thinks I'm an embarrassment." And Sarah, for some reason, says, "No, he's just scared of you," which is a bold statement to say for someone you just met.
Yeah, but true. She's probably drunk.
Yeah. That's actually true. They are moving a bunch of bottles of beer.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm not a little boy anymore. I'm like an adult." And she's like, "Oh, you're an adult who started doing squeezing carrot juice after college. You're not an adult yet."
Yeah.
It's
This
like
is
so
the kind
much
of
for
like
that career.
shitty things that she does is like criticize everything about him. Yeah.
And look, if you're so progressive and like free spirited, like if y'all are sleeping together, shouldn't I know about it? If you guys are doing something. And for some reason, Sarah's like, "Oh, yeah, we slept together. Sure, yeah, we're modern." And then she loses it. She says, "Oh, my God, I want to leave. I want to leave. Get me out of here. Take me out of here, my husband. Get me out of here. This is too much."
Too much for her. Yep.
Too
This is
much.
how it always goes. Every single meeting with them. Yeah.
Yep. And, it's, Sarah's like, "Oh, I was joking. She's like, "Oh, okay." Calms her down eventually. And they then about ready to leave and says, "He'll do great if he ever gets a job in acting because he was a great Hamlet," says his parents. So his parents are supportive in their own like weird way, despite screaming and being weird.
That's the way that they communicate.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And so Sarah and Larry are talking, and Sarah's saying like, "Oh, your mom, she is scary, but she's very interesting. She's very interesting." Anyway, I want to go to Mexico. I want to get away from these post-abortion blues. And I'm like, what? What's going on, y'all?
I just fucking watched a movie where a person was like being very like secretive about wanting an abortion, and now she's just like, "I want to get away from the abortion blues,"
I'm like, whoa, all right. So then we cut to our guy, Larry, going in for an audition, or I guess the very first part of an audition, and he's talking to someone else who's auditioning and kind of being an asshole. And that person is played by Jeff Goldblum, a very young Jeff Goldblum. Uh-huh.
He's in this
Absolutely.
movie?
He is in this movie. He is another actor trying to get a job.
Dude!
Yeah. What a wild person to suddenly see.
How does he look? I'm sure he looks so young.
Yeah, I mean, he still has his kind of signature eyes.
Right. He looks the same. Yes, he looks the same, just younger. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he looks the same but younger. That's how people age. You could say that with anyone though. He looks the same but younger. Like, do people really transform? Come on.
That's so crazy.
It is wild. So his name is Clyde, but Larry keeps getting his name wrong. He's like, "Are you keeping your name? Like Lipinski's kind of a hard name to say. Like you're not." He's like, "No, I'll change it, but I'm open to changing it. But I'm going to try with my Jewish name. We're gonna go for it." He's like, "All right, cool. Well, good luck. I hope you make it." But also, Jeff Goldblum is kind of an asshole to the person taking the receptionist, I guess, is kind of mean to them and being like, as they call people back, he's like, "Wait, but they got in after me. I've been here first." And like, no one is calling him back. But anyway, Larry goes in and gets called up and meets Sid Weinberg, meets him. And he's like, "How old are you?" And he's like, "I'm 19. He's like, "No, you're not. You're older than that." And I'm like, this guy looks like he's in his 30s. Let's be honest. But he says he's 22 for real. He's like, "Where are you from?" He says, "Oh, I'm from Greenwich Village."
You're not a Fagler, are you?
No, but I'm Jewish.
Comedian, huh? I like that.
So he understands this. He understands the slang. I'm like,
yes,
that's funny.
That's very.
It's like, "Oh, you're a comedian. You're a comedian. You're funny. All right. Well, you know what? Let's do this. I'll set you up for a test. I like you, and if you test well, and the people on the West Coast like you, we'll fly you out to the West Coast." And he's like, "What does your mom think about this acting thing?" And he kind of like pauses. And he's like, "What? Do you know my mom?" He's like, "No, but I know my mom."
Yeah.
And she hated it when I wanted to do tap dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And so he did a little tap dance. He's like, so I went in a completely different job and eventually ended up here. So it's like, okay, cool. He kind of, this guy takes pity on him because he sees himself in it, basically.
Right. He understands.
Yeah. So he leaves. Casting director seems pretty happy. So I'm like, I don't know if he's going to get this job. We'll see. It seems kind of like the casting director's like, ha, 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 just another fool. But I don't know. Anyway, people are dancing in Greenwich Village. They're doing the conga line you were mentioning earlier. Everyone getting happy and walking. And they're like, guess what? Someone's going to commit suicide. And I'm like, what the fuck is this movie? What is happening?
Oh my god, it's so much
Anita's
funnier
gonna
the
kill
second
herself?
time around. Yeah.
What is going on?
Anita Cunningham is gonna kill herself.
So they go in there and they're like, "Oh, where are you? Where are you?" They get into the place, and then Christopher Walken comes out and is like, "She did it. She actually did kill herself. She's dead." And they're like, "Oh." And the only person who seems actually upset is Bernstein. Everyone else is just like, "Damn."
Wait, she's gone?
She's dead. Yeah.
Oh no. Wait, why is he there? Did he kill her?
That's what I thought.
I feel like he did it. I feel like he did it.
Weren't they dating or something? Weren't they together?
No, they weren't together.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Fuck, man. These people all like run in and out of their houses like Seinfeld.
Yeah, I know. This guy absolutely fucking did it. Not down in my mind. Yeah.
Sure. I you know what? I won't fault that read. I won't fault that read. And he's like, don't go. He also says, don't go in there. It's really messy.
Yeah. You'll find a bunch of evidence that I did it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they call the police. They get him over there. And then Connie was like, has a whole story about how she met Anita the first time, and only because she knew someone through him, but like tried to get him to paint the walls, but Anita actually was the one to do it. It was a whole thing, and it was like everyone's just like, it's just such a weird reaction.
Yeah,
to everyone being like, it's this person, you know.
They don't know how to respond to it, I guess.
I would feel so fucking guilty, right? Like if you were literally joking about it, like, oh, she's not gonna do it, and then like.
And like,
you're like,
this also isn't the first time that they knew that she wasn't like lying. Like they literally saw her like cutting her wrists open. Like, you know, like,
yeah, I know, right? Like that's clearly action.
Yeah. I feel like the next time I hear about this, I'd be like, oh shit, she probably actually did it this time. You know, like I wouldn't be goofing about it and laughing, you know?
Nope, they're all goofing, having a good time.
All right.
Anyway, that's the end of that scene. Now, Larry's getting a test at the interview. He's doing the test shot. And he does it. Clyde is here. It's basically like the way they do the test screening is it's basically an interview. Like they just ask him questions like,
right.
where are you from and all this. And he's like, oh, I was in an Actors Guild, and which is a lie because Clyde, I believe, said he was learning from the Actors Guild. And he's like, well, I just wanted, and Larry's just like, well, I just wanted the job. You know how it is. And Clyde's like, all right, I guess I kind of respect that, but you never get my name right. And he keeps talking. And so Clyde talks so much that he gets kicked out of the audition. So
Whoa.
Jeff Goldblum is no longer in the movie. He didn't even get to audition. He was going to, but then he didn't.
Oh man.
I know.
I'm sure he'll go off to bigger and better things, though. I think he became like a scientist for like chaos theory or something.
Probably, yeah. Chaos theory scientist. Yeah. That must have been it.
Yeah.
So then Larry. Okay, I did that part. Okay, Larry went to do another screen test in his mind, but he's doing a test, and then suddenly his mom appears, taking the test place of the other actor, who is a lady, and he kisses his mom on the mouth very passionately.
He kisses his own mom?
In this dream world, in his little weird fugue state.
Larry dreams about kissing his own mom?
Yes, he does. And then he dreams about people throwing pies at him. This is while he's taking a bath.
What the fuck?
I don't know, man.
This Larry guy, he really needs to get a therapist or something, man.
A lot. You know what? Most of the people in this movie do.
I guess you're right.
I really can't think of anyone who doesn't need one in this movie. I don't think there's any well-adjusted characters.
Not at all.
Yeah. Anyway, so Larry comes over to try to cheer up Bernstein, who's going through depression because he broke up with whoever. And it's just like the way... Bernstein's such an interesting character because I feel like he has so much more going for him, but all he's kind of reduced to is like, he's in love with this person. He's not.
Yeah.
And then they break up. Like, that's his whole emotional core.
Well, yeah, it's like it's a straight white man writing for like a gay black guy. Like, you know?
You're right. That's very true. Yeah. But like, so he's sad. Obviously, he should be more sad about, like, they could have just said he was very sad about Anita killing herself. But no, he's sad about being broken up with. Like, come on. Like, what? You literally had the spot right there.
Yeah.
Of like a huge depression moment where it's like someone actually feels bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's depressed under the covers. And so Larry comes over and starts talking about what's funny. And it's like, you know what's really funny? Burping is a really funny thing. Look at that. You know what's also funny? Farts. Farts are funny. And he just starts talking about like what is funny. And eventually he's like, you know what the funniest thing is? And he rips the sheets away from Bernstein. And he's like, this is the funniest guy right here. And Bernstein looks and he says, with like a completely dramatic face and completely like serious tone, my name is Floyd Lewis. My life is a fiction. All this is made up, my dears. All my backstory, my dad is dead. I never knew him. My mom, we grew up poor in, I believe it was Georgia. And he made it all up. But two things are real. My tricks and me being gay. That's the only things that are real. I've lied to everyone. Everyone's just like, huh. That's it. All right.
Oh, man. Oh, I feel so
like,
bad for this fucking guy, dude.
I know.
I like give him a hug, you know?
I think they might have given him a hug, maybe.
All right, that's the least you could do.
I don't even think they did that, to be honest. I think I'm putting that in my mind.
You wanted to give him a hug.
That's maybe it. I'm projecting.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so they hang out downstairs. Did not completely fix Bernstein. He's still depressed. They go and hang out downstairs and they chat. So it's Christopher Walken, Connie, Sarah, and Larry talking. And Christopher Walken's like, you know what? I'm just going to go to Mexico City. I'm tired of this place. We just need a vacation. Let's go next week. And Larry's like, I can't. I'm waiting to hear back on the screen test. And what about Bernstein? He's so sad. Like, we could drag him. We can make him go. And Sarah's like, I want to go. And he's like, well, you just heard that, like, I can't go. She's like, what, are you tying me down? I just want to go. And then Christopher Walken honestly gives a very level-headed statement and just says, you can just hear about your screen test and then just come later. Like, you only hear about it in a couple of days. He's like, oh, yeah. Okay.
Surprising.
Well, I could do that. But then, like, Sarah's like, I need to get out of here. And she leaves, and Larry goes after her. And then Christopher Walken and Connie agree to, like, well, you want to go back to my place and bang? All right. And so they just go and do that, I guess.
Cool.
But we cut back to Larry chasing Sarah. He's like, I forbid you to go. And you cannot go. It's pouring rain. He grabs her and is like, you can't leave. And she's like, you can't control me. And then they fucking start kissing in the rain because he grabs her after asking for a breath mint. Yeah. And then he's like, let's go.
He's upside down in the rain.
Yeah. Yeah. It's basically that scene.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, let's go make out or go make love. Excuse me. Not make out. Much different.
Very different.
So they're sitting in bed. They're getting undressed for the sex. And he asks, do you have your diaphragm? Go ahead and put it on. She's like, I'm wearing it already. And I was like, wait, hold on. I got to make sure I know what a diaphragm is.
I was going to ask if you knew what a diaphragm was.
So it's not the part where you're breathing. It's not the breathing one. It's got to be something different. I'm like, okay, got it. I knew what it was. I just did not know the exact name. Did not know the exact name of it.
Oh my god.
So I want to double check. I wanted to make sure I didn't get the context wrong.
You knew, okay, you know that there's 2 different types of diaphragms.
Yes. No, absolutely. Yes,
okay.
2 different types. Yes.
You were, because yes, the diaphragm is the thing that goes below the lungs that like makes them move. And then there's the contraceptive diaphragm.
Yes, I know. Yes. No, I looked at both up because I was like, there's no way it's that one. There's no way that it's that one. You can't put your lungs back in. You can't put your lungs on.
Yeah.
You can't do that. So I had to double check. I just want to be, this is the research we do for this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm pulling a peek behind the curtain, okay? I'm being vulnerable unlike half these motherfuckers.
Yeah, you're being vulnerable, and I'm like, you know what's funny? Farts.
Yep.
Burps are funny.
Yeah. Burps are really funny. Laugh, dude. And I'm like, my whole life is a lie. I'm actually not Ethan. My name has been Nathan the whole time, but I thought that was a really cool name.
I wanted to appear cool, so I named myself after an actor, but I didn't really do it exactly right.
Yeah. I found out you actually couldn't pick your last name, so I kind of had to stick with what I got. Anyway.
My name has been Mike this whole time.
I didn't want to make it weird. I had to change. As soon as I saw him walk through the door, I had to change my name to Mike.
Change quickly.
Anyway, so he's like, so wait, you're wearing it already? And she's like, yeah. Robert? She's like, yeah. And then he grabs her and just starts slapping the shit out of her. And she says, I love you, not him. And he's like, I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that. I didn't plan to fucking beat you up. Anyway, here's some water. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know.
So she admitted that she's cheated on him with Robert, basically.
Yeah, that she loves Robert.
Well, she fucked Robert.
Yeah, and she loves him too.
Oh, she loves him?
Yeah.
Oh.
She's like obsessed with Robert for some reason. He's such a great guy.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. Yeah, totally.
It must be a huge hit to your ego when like someone is like, I'd rather go for the complete asshole instead of you. It's like,
I mean, yeah, he is like an incel in the making at this point, Larry.
Yeah, that is very
They always
true.
choose the assholes.
Anyway, so yeah, then he's like, we didn't plan to do anything. I just went over to Robert's house and we did it. And we start talking, we made love. And then he's like, why'd you come up here then? And then he asks, like, if I go to Mexico with you, is it over with Robert? She says, no. And he says, I love you, Sarah. And she says, I know. And he says, I'll always love you. And she says, no, you won't. And during like this lowest moment while they're sitting and cuddling in their underwear, basically, and just like really actually pouring out their emotions, Mom shows up with Dad.
Oh my
and is
God.
like, it just comes in as like, you gotta marry her. You gotta marry her. You gotta marry her. Just break, like it's like some absolute bombshell just comes in. And it's just like, what are you doing, young lady? And she's putting on her clothes, trying to get out of there. And then Dad, she's like, why aren't you saying anything, Dad? And Dad just says, because it's none of our business, damn it. Gets fucking pissed. Finally, for the first time ever. He's a grown man.
He's not wrong. It's true.
And in this moment, she finally realizes that, like, she clearly loves her son, but she finally realizes, like, what she's doing is not actually helping him. And there probably is no way she can actually help him.
Right.
To be honest.
No.
Unless
she kisses him.
Yeah, well, she doesn't know that. She can't read his mind.
Yeah.
And, like, she even, like, offers, like, let's put on, like, a cool record. You always love these records. It'll cheer you up. And he's just like, I don't want to listen to a record right now. And I think that's when she really realizes that, like, these little simple things that would cheer you up when you're a kid, when you, like, sprain your ankle or whatever, sad thing happens when you're a kid, just don't apply in real life when like true heartbreak happens, you know?
Right.
Or when you feel like, someone doesn't love you as much as you love them.
Yeah.
Which is heartbreak,
When they cheat on you.
Yeah, when they cheat on you. And then that person they cheat on is one of the worst people in the movie.
Yeah, the absolute worst person in the movie and possibly the world.
Yeah. So then Larry goes and confronts Christopher Walken. He's like, "You gonna punch me?" He's like, "No, I'm not gonna punch you." He's like, "That's funny." All right. And then he's like, "Well, was she good?" He's like, first time's never good. It's okay.
Damn.
And then he's like, "Do you love her?" He's like, "Nah."
Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
He's like, "I don't know. I ran away from home when I was 15 because I wanted to be a writer. Because that's what I know I wanted to do. I didn't stick with my parents. I also knew I wanted to sleep with a lot of women." And so it's just like,
he's just
literally
a fucking,
the polar opposite of Larry. Because
he's like
Larry
a bigamist.
clearly is like,
yeah.
Yeah.
He's a womanizer.
yeah, and clearly Larry also is like close with his mom. Only sleeps with like one lady. Clearly is like going the more traditional route. While
Sure.
this guy's just like, I'm out here. I got
An
no
orthodox
parents.
route, if you will.
Hey. So Connie is there. And she's like, I guess I'll still go to Mexico. Larry's like, all right, I guess I'll stay here then. And everyone goes to Mexico. So he goes to, what the fuck is this writing? Oh, okay. So he goes to work, which is the carrot shop or whatever, the carrot squeeze.
The juicer, yeah.
The juicer shop. And this guy, Mr. Elkins,
the boss,
comes in. He's not the boss because some guy comes in. He's like, I can't sleep. Make some more stuff. I don't know if this is a bit. So then he gets a call. He gets the job. He's good to go. He's going to leave for the coast on Friday. His boss is happy for him. Now, that's something that doesn't happen nowadays. His boss is happy for him to get the job. His boss's wife is happy. Like, they're all excited for him to finally get the job. He's moving up. He's going to the West Coast. He's like, a big-name actor's going to be, I can't believe a big-name actor got their start here. I'm going to be telling people about this for years.
Yeah.
Larry goes, tells his parents. They're happy for him to go to the coast. Although, obviously, mom is concerned but upset. But, like, she seems to be more okay with it. And is like, okay, I made some food for you. Be careful on the plane. He's like, I'm flying first class. She says, y'all remember where you came from. Your grandmother hopped over the Poland border in a bunch of potatoes, and the guard stuck band necks into the sacks while she was there. You remember that's where you came from. And he's like, all right, I'll remember that. And she's
very cool.
Yeah, write every day and call us and blah, blah, blah. And she says, you'll do good. You're a good actor. And he leaves. Some person named Mrs. Tupperman says, hey, sorry to hear about your girlfriend. How's Greenwich Village going? And he's like, I'm leaving that place. I'm going to go to Hollywood and act in a movie. She's like, that's cool. I don't know who this lady is.
What does she look like? What does she look like?
She's in a building leaning down. She's an older lady.
The movie opens with this.
Oh, okay.
When Larry's leaving his house for the first time, there is a woman who's like, "Where are you going?" And he's like, "I'm going to Greenwich Village." It's exactly the same person.
It mirrors it. It rhymes.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he walks by his streets with all his people in it, hanging out and having a good time. And he looks at the strudel his mom gave him and takes a bite. And it's like, I'm gonna kind of like implies like, oh, I missed this place a little bit, but I'm on to bigger and better things. And then he, leaves, and that's the end of the movie.
Wow. What a film.
What a questionable movie.
I don't know. It wasn't fun. It wasn't interesting. That was interesting. I just don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like a lot of aspects of it. I didn't find
there was a lot of things I did not like about this movie.
Yeah.
There were, but the thing is, it was more interesting because it was kind of a mixed bag, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because I don't like most of the characters. I thought the tone was all over the place. I did like some of the characters I did like, though. We're not in it enough. You got
Shelly Winters.
Bernstein,
incredible.
And we're done.
I think we're at, yeah.
Oh, wait. Jeff Goldblum was all right.
Yeah. He's pretty cool.
He was funny.
Yeah.
But he was kind of in his own section of the movie, which kind of made it feel like this is the tone. It's weird Hollywood. It's, casting. It's its own special world.
So I actually was curious about, this movie feels very, internal about, what it was like to be, an actor a person who wanted to pursue acting in the 50s. So I looked up a bit about like the director, and the guy who wrote the movie also directed the movie. And apparently the movie is based on his own lived experience of being a struggling actor in the 50s.
Oh my God.
It's very like it's like loosely like it's similar, but certain like liberties were taken, but a lot of it was taken from his own lived experience. Which
did he have someone like close to him also commit suicide? Or
probably.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know how close it is. I don't know if he was. There might be like interviews. I just like checked out like Wikipedia, and it was basically like, yeah, he was casted. This is essentially like the Fablemans for this guy, right? Where it was like, how did he start out? What sort of things did he do in order to get into the industry?
Turns out Fablemans is a lot more interesting when you're actually someone who made a bunch of like really crazy, critically acclaimed films, as opposed to someone who's like, I don't know, it was crazy my life here, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I liked certain aspects. I loved the way the movie began, and then I also agree with you. I think Shelly Winters is the absolute heart of the film. What's your favorite? Oh, this is something because we did this last time. What is your favorite scene of hers in the movie? Do you think?
I love the part when she starts singing and dancing. Like as she takes the spotlight.
She's dancing with Bernstein.
No, the part in his mind palace, his like imaginary thought of her stealing the spotlight from him.
Yeah,
being upstaged, and I love that scene because it really shows the amount of range she has, and I think that was just a lot of fun, and she's just really, really great. I also did really enjoy the part where she kind of turned on a dime with his girlfriend.
Yeah, it was Sarah. Yeah, I loved the opening. I loved because that was such a good it's like everything I need to know about this person is just like out, and it's like
everything you need to know. You can kind of stop from there, right?
Yeah, really. You just start the movie, you see how his mom acts, and then you're like, all right, I'm good. We're good. Let's get out of here.
I understand you more. Let's talk more about this Bernstein guy, or even turn a little bit more about mom. I don't know.
This is a really good example because sometimes we'll criticize the movie and we're like, oh, I didn't like the movie, but like, what didn't we like about it? And here it's like, obviously, she's great in it. Like, she's good in it. Certain other actors are really good in this movie. It's like, that's not the problem with it. I think it's just the way that the tone is handled by the writer-director, and maybe the way that he's portraying certain characters feels like lacking. I feel like that's where the movie's failing, and it's not necessarily due to the actors themselves, or whatever. Like I think it's rotten from that perspective, but not like it's not Shelly Winters' fault that the movie's bad. I think it's actually like you perfectly said, the movie's watchable because of her, really. And a couple of the other.
She's not in enough. And
she
I was
really
gonna say she's barely in enough to make it watchable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think I'd ever watch this movie again. I was so fucking excited like when the movie started. I'm like, oh, is this like my new favorite movie? Is this like what
wow.
I was like, I think I'm gonna want to watch this movie like way more. Like once we were done recording the podcast, I'll watch the whole thing again. Like I love this whole atmosphere. I love seeing like old Greenwich Village.
Even before we talked, you were still excited to watch it.
No. This was when the bearded man shows up and wants to write a poem. That was when I was like, I think this is gonna be my new favorite movie. And then the suicide scene happens, and I'm like, oh no, I'm wrong. No. I made the wrong choice. But we made the right choice watching another great performance by Shelly Winters. Saves
really
this
did.
film. Yeah. The other movie.
Next stop, another movie. Thank God.
Next stop, another Shelly Winters movie. Guys, do you have any other Shelly Winters movies you'd recommend? There's sure quite a few. She is probably a very prolific actor. Email us at email@theotherhalfpodcast.com. Let us know. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and on Discord. And if you want to listen to our previous Shelly Winters episodes, you can find them on any podcatching app. And while you're there, please leave a 5-star rating and review. We will read it on the show, no matter what it says. Even if it is just a weirdly toned story about you becoming an out-of-work actor to an in-work actor, we will read it. We'll absolutely read that on the show.
Go for it.
Why not?
You know what? If you want to pour a bunch of money into making a movie like this and getting an amazing cast of like the craziest thing about this movie is how good the cast is.
Yeah.
For how middling the kind of script and budget is. Like I'm just like I feel like Shelly Winter was a favor that she did this for.
Maybe she genuinely liked her character and she was like, yeah, I want to play this.
She did bring a lot to it, so maybe she was really just interested in the character work. But and you get Christopher Walken in here. You get Jeff Goldblum in for a bit, and Bill Murray, like all before they were really known.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah. And then you have the main actor who. Good night, everybody.